Hello everybody, it is OCD Mikey Boy here, and welcome back to another installment of OCD Hi-Fi Guy. And what I thought we'd delve into tonight is a little bit more into servers, because I just think I want to get a little more in depth and a little more clear on servers versus streamers, and kind of what the difference is, and sort of give you an idea of what these things are all about. Okay, the first thing is difference between a streamer and a server. A server is self-contained, meaning it has the library, all your own library, and it can go out to the internet. It can do everything on its own. It's self-sufficient. It needs no other computer on your network. It can also go out to your NAS drive and pull music, but the main thing is it's self-contained and it holds your library of music. A streamer does not hold a library, okay? It's a playback device that does not do any library management. It can also, though, go to your NAS drive and go out to the internet and pull music from there. The only difference is it needs a host computer on your network to work. You have to have for instance, ROON. You have to have your computer open and have ROON on it, whether it's a NAS drive or whatever. There's got to be another component involved. There are some streamers whereby they can just go directly out and they don't necessarily need something else to be running in your house, but they do need another computer for the library because it does not hold the library. So some people think it sounds better if you can play back your music from a hard drive, directly to the computer rather than pulling it from the network and then playing it back. But really, there's things now that exist that clean up that network stream on its way to the streamer, let's say, that really it's very hard to tell the difference between internal and external if you have a good switch or something that cleans it up right before it hits your unit, whether it's a streamer or a server. Okay, so I'll go through these kind of in sort of some sort of haphazard fashion to show you the difference between them. In my opinion, I'm telling you, they're all computers, okay? It's a computer. All streamers or servers are simply computers that are designed or optimized to output a digital bit stream for music. So it's not like it's an incredibly hard job. It's sending digital music out, okay? So you'll see them all different sizes. What I have here will span from $8,000 down to $50, okay? And so you'll see the differences and you can make your own conclusions. Okay, this is my home build, okay? So essentially I took a mini ITX board. These things are to cool it so that it's a fanless deal. This is so it can rip CDs, although I don't use this. I put it in there just because I wanted to test and make sure it worked. I don't use this, so this could be either out or whatever, but the front of the unit has a slot on it, so I figured I'd just keep the thing in there. I don't have it wired, though, because when you start up any, if you have a drive on there, it's going to spin from time to time, and it'll make this more noisy because they're pulling off the same power supply. So I don't wire this up. If you don't need a ripper, I suggest don't get one because they'll be quieter without a ripper. So I got a mini ITX board, just like this. I added this here, which is an audio card. Okay, this one is a Matrix, about ready to test a Jcat. It was supposed to be the highfalutin one. And so this is an extra power inlet, so I can run power to. This was for the hard drive or the SSD that's in here. Actually, I don't have an SSD in here right now. I have a mini SATA right here. So the whole OS, and then I've got some songs can all fit on here. And if you want more storage, then you just put the SSD, which would go underneath this on the floor there. But the idea is that you have a computer board and you have a nice USB output card. This is detrimental. The output card is what's going to really clean up, reclock, and give you the killer USB output because if you pull it off the motherboard is noisy. This motherboard has all sorts of switching devices on it and zzz, I mean, it's making a ton of noise in here. And so when you pull power off there, or if you run something direct from the motherboard, it's going to carry that noise. Okay, so I noticed that I was out of frame there, so I came in to show you. Now, here is what I was saying. This is the USB output. Okay, so if you use the USB output off the motherboard, it's going to be more noisy than if you use the USB off a USB PCIe card, and you use an outboard power supply that's not coming off the motherboard. Then you'll have isolated power, and it will sound much better because you've got a linear power supply and you've isolated the power and isolated this piece, and it'll just sound better on the USB output than if you grab it from the motherboard. So this is an important piece. They're around $300, something like that. The more expensive ones can be as much as like $800, and we're going to see if we can hear the difference in a little bit. But so that's how that works. And same with the computer here. This gets a 19 volt from externally. So, focus. Okay, 19 volt right here. So you can give a 19 volt ultralinear supply here, and it would be better than plugging a power cord directly in to this piece or using a wall wart. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so this is just something that I put together, and then I use ROON as the software on here. Okay, so it's as simple as that for making this. Now, I don't suppose everybody's going to want to build something from scratch. So I'll go over some of the other pieces here. Here is an interesting, oops, I've got my tape over. This is an interesting piece. And this one here is also a mini ITX board, but there is actually very clever ways to keep you from seeing it. Okay, so this is normally, it has safety screws that I have over here. These little safety, whatever, lock, you got to have quite a tool set to have that little safety hex head thing, star. It's a Torx it's a safety Torx is what it is. Anyway, so even when you pull these out, you still can't lift this up. Okay, and if you start trying to loosen screws, things come loose. It's like, you don't want to do it because you don't know if you're ever going to be able to line it back up. There's probably a special way in which these, I'm trying not to show you any names. So if you go on the bottom, okay, we can pull this up. We can see that it's a mini ITX. Okay, and we can also, if we pull we can peek in there and see that it's a mini ITX. So it is the same, except for you can see on this one, there is a SPDIF output, which is actually a nice feature because it makes it compatible with older DACs. And also SPDIF is really an actual output that is designed for music, digital music. USB is designed for printers and peripherals. So this is a nice option to have, and not many servers will have that. Also, you can swap out your solid-state drives, like in here, 1 and 2. You have 2 slots to expand, storage. But if you get one that's big enough, you're really never going to have to pull it out ever again. But it is neat to see that you don't have to get in the unit to add storage if you like. So yet another one. Okay, and this one is, so this one goes like this. I have it taped shut. Okay, so here you see. Okay, now this is like a single board computer. So this is even smaller than a mini ATX, and less expensive to purchase. But it's very feature filled. It's powerful. These little things, I mean, you'd be surprised at what they can do. So it's very simple. It's a small computer board. It's some memory. This is a power switch, and a hard drive right there, a solid state drive. So you just put some software on it, and boom, you got yourself a server. This is $1,000. The one we just saw before that was $5, I think. The one my home build was like $1,500 or something. Okay, here is another example. Okay, so this is a streamer here, and as you can see, it's something that we made a while back. and it's just a SBC, single board computer. Has a slot for an M.2 SATA, so you can put storage right here, pretty decent amount of storage. And then this is another storage, an M SATA, and you get 250 gig, but you can get much higher now. And then it's, you know, so you can have it self-contained. This is a streamer. It's a small footprint, as you can see, pretty powerful. This one is so small, though, it doesn't have the ability to put a an output card, a USB output card. So you kind of have to go with what comes right off the motherboard. But it's powered by an outboard linear power supply as well, so it can be a little bit better than if it's, you know, powered by, if you're plugging it straight in. But still, you'd rather not have it out of the motherboard if you're going for the top quality of USB output. And then there's the you can see the Ethernet and that's basically it. It does have some slots so that you can be wireless, those two open holes. You can put a wireless into this M.2. You can have a wireless card so that you don't need to plug it into the Ethernet, but I always like to use wired just because I just like wired better than wireless. You don't have to have a radio in your rig, and it's going to be less chance of dropouts and things like that. So anyway, so there is streamer. I think we sold this for $450. And this is also, this can be a server or a streamer, depending. It's powerful enough to be a server. And so you can see, here's the back. Again, it does not have enough room for a USB output card, the USBs being on the front. But you can see it's a simple SBC. It's got the storage here and with the OS, and then right there's the memory. And you can put an SSD on here if you wanted to just kind of lay one in there somehow, or maybe attach it to the lid and then run the wire down for you know, like a couple terabytes. But again, very simple, no big deal. It's a computer board. I mean, this thing's got an embedded CPU, which means the CPU is included. It doesn't, you don't buy it separate. And fanless, and this thing's a couple hundred, $125, something like that. I believe this piece with software and everything was like $1,500, $1,200 or $1,500. So that's that one. Okay, and so here is one that is completely proprietary, 100%. This one has its own board in there. It's not an SPC or SBC. It is a completely ground up designed a motherboard. It's got some really cool features. This is USB in out. This means you can read and you can record actually using USB through this interface. With the DAC that this company makes, you can record DSD to a Windows computer, which is pretty cool. And they give you free software to do that along with it. Also, this is an output, which is ST digital. So this is glass fiber optic, which is a broadcast standard, very high quality way to transmit digital bitstream to your DAC, if your DAC has the input and manner in which to decode, to use the optical, because this is a laser, it's fiber optic. You can't carry noise on light. You can't pick up any noise. So that's what's nice about this interface, is that no matter what, you're going to, any noise that maybe you got from the network before that will not pass through. Unless it's on the signal, but it's not going to be on the signal. So any noise that you pick up from the inside or whatever, on the network, on coming through the lines and stuff, it'll stop right here, and this will give it pristine digital bit stream out. Of course, it reclocks and isolates and does everything. You also have a coax out for the SPDIF. Losing my grip there. Coax out for SPDIF, network in, power, so you have your outboard linear power supply, and it's a pretty killer piece. Here is another, and this one's kind of pulled apart, deconstructed to show you. Okay, so this is where they put it into a bigger box. Okay, so component size to make it look less like a computer and more like a stereo thing. You'd have this right here, which is just your optical drive, which goes right up to the front slot. Over here, you have your cradle that holds your solid state drive, which holds the OS and all that kind of stuff, and that goes right over here. There's a slot for 3 or 4 of them. You've got your linear power supply that's built in to the unit, so you can plug a power cord right into the back of this thing, and it's going to power up itself. And then over here, you've got your mini ITX again board. This is something that's off the shelf, this board, but it's optimized for audio output. And then there's furthermore, and I don't have it, but there's a USB output board that would go right up here, and it mounts to the rear plate, and it sticks up here, and then you run a wire down for that. But it's and that's what this is for, to power the board. And then there's the other one to power the card, the USB card. And the card comes up on a little mezzanine or thing that an adapter that puts your PCIe card this way, so you can fit a PCIe card right in there. And this was $8,000. Okay, so you can sort of see they're all very similar in how they're built. They just look different, have different boxes. There's different nuances in terms of the drives and stuff, but you can pretty much see that they're all very, very, very much alike. Okay, and that's when you hear me say they're really no more than a computer. I still stand by that. They are very much a computer. And there are very few companies that stray away from just doing what you see, which is the off-the-shelf board, and then they have some proprietary software and so forth to optimize it for hi-fi, for music playback. But really, it's just spitting out the digital bitstream, and then really the rubber meets the road when you hit the DAC. So the job for this thing isn't incredibly hard, at all. And then we get to this, which is an ARM. Okay, and this is what is used. Okay, so if you have a DAC that has an onboard, a streamer on board, and you can plug your Ethernet into your DAC, it's an all-in-one, or your preamp or something like that. This is what they use inside the components. So this is like a $35 to $50 board. It's like a Raspberry Pi. This is something else, but it is it's similar to a Raspberry Pi. And here's the little OS is on this card right here, this mini SD, you can see. And that's all you need, really. And look, these kind of pieces go into DACs that are $25,000, $30,000. So if this board in this as a streamer, okay, is good enough for a $25,000 DAC, then do you see my point about how all this other stuff, you hear about, $10,000, $15,000 servers, and it's like, man, that thing is just meant to spit out a digital bitstream of music. It really doesn't do anything more than that. So why is it $15,000? Well, because I don't know, because they can, because people buy it. So there's nothing wrong with that. If people want to spend that kind of dough, then it's fine, But I don't think the difference between this and something that's that is high buck is going to be very different. I would say this with a card. Okay, so you can go out of here and go into another another board that would be like a USB output card to clean up the USB, like I spoke about. So any computer, like whether it's this, whether it's a let me get this thing out of here, whether it's a board like this, these boards plus a USB output card plus a outboard linear power supply equals killer sound no matter what. You're going to be hard pressed. I don't think, if you tried, I don't think you could find a crappy sounding server / streamer regardless. I just don't think you could find one that sounds crappy, because they send out a digital bitstream, and the rubber hits the road with your DAC. So you can put anti-vibration, you can do things to make this quieter, and it will make it sound better in a rig that is a very transparent rig, one that is very, sensitive. So the higher end your system is, the more you'll hear the little things that you can do to improve these. You can, you know, have some of the switching things shut down. Some of these boards don't even have switching little devices on them. They are all, they just don't have them for the purpose of you know, keeping it quiet. So there are things that you can do, but I'm saying I don't think that it's just this huge difference. Granted, on a system that is very expensive, little things can sometimes be huge things. So I'm not knocking any one or the other. I'm just trying to give you sort of I don't know, an idea of what these are all about, and so that you can realize that if you have, say, if you have a mediocre system, and if you're buying, you know, you're putting money into your server thinking the server is going to bring the sound of the system up, that the server won't do that. That's not what that's for. The DAC will do that for sure. But the server, you got to kind of keep it keep it realistic with the rest of your rig. It's not going to do any, you know, magic wonders. The systems where it does do the most wonders will be the real expensive systems, because they can hear every little difference and every little thing you do. And so, you know, that's where the rubber meets the road there. So I just thought I would do that little presentation. Do you like my magic hands? And just to show the difference between the servers and the streamers. And that's it. If anybody has questions, go ahead, leave them below. I'll try and answer them well as I can. So that gives you an idea of what servers are all about. I make my own still. I have still not found one that I think sounds better than mine, but I'm about to do that shortly. We're going to go through and test out some servers and see how they compare. So that's it. Thanks for joining. See you.